Hey guys, this is Kim from Dodges and Daisies, and I want to welcome you to my very first YouTube video. Technically it's my second, but the first one was made probably 4 or 5 years ago. It was something simple. It was an unboxing video. Actually, one of my favorite companies, Uniku, did like a collab with me, and I did a little unboxing for them. But this is my first video where I'll be crafting, and it's like 5 years in the making. I've always wanted to do YouTube videos, but I feel very overwhelmed with video. Like, I'm very much someone who's more comfortable kind of like behind the camera and taking photos. I spent 11 years of my life as a photographer, so doing something like this that's live and talkative is just a little overwhelming to me, but I'm gonna jump right in. And this theme, this 10 for 10 challenge, is actually my husband's idea. He had mentioned something like this, and I thought that's such a great idea. So let me explain. We're going to be doing our first 10 videos is going to be a 10 for 10 challenge, and what I mean by that is we're going to be only using 10 supplies to make a journal layout, and there'll be 10 layouts. So 10 supplies, and you don't have to use all of the supplies. We might wind up only using like 4 or 5 per layout, but the point of this is that we're going to pre-pick out 10 things that we can use, and that's the only thing that we are allowed to use. So that doesn't include like tools. Today I'm keeping it really simple. I'm keeping it just with a scissor and a glue stick, and that's it. The glue sticks I like to use are Elmer's extra strength glue stick. There's a lot of other adhesives that I use, but just for purely paper, we're just gonna stick with a glue stick. And with Elmer's, I always use the extra strength just because I found the other versions of them not to be as permanent or as strong. They peel off pretty easily, so I always stick with that guy. The journal that I'll be using today is my new 2022, sounds so weird to say it's New Year's Day 2022 journal. Jake, my husband, actually bought this for me for Christmas. I absolutely love this. The reason he got it for me was because I've been going through a really difficult time health-wise, as a lot of you know. I've had 2 surgeries within a month of each other. My body's been going through just a lot of changes, and it's also been going through a lot of health issues. I've had really severe breathing trouble. I've had like heart issues with like racing heart and high blood pressure. I've had fatigue issues where I've been too weak to get out of bed. So when I read this quote, I actually started to cry, and Jake bought it for me, which I thought was really sweet. It's a famous quote. I'm sure most of you have heard of it, but there was just a lot of it that just touched me. Like, deep roots are not reached by the frost. I think if you have deep faith and deep strength and deep beliefs, even if you go through difficult times, those things don't get, it's not that they're not affected, and it's not that they're not tested, but they remain deep inside you, even if you go through difficult times. The end part of this, the ashes, from the ashes of fire shall be woken, a light from the shadows shall spring. renewed shall be blade that was broken, the crownless again shall be king, just seemed so hopeful. I love quotes that aren't just superficial and positive, but quotes that recognize that we can go through difficult times, but still add hope that good times are ahead and we can pull through. So especially during this season, this journal means a lot to me, and it's also gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's leather. It's really big, as you guys can see how large the journal is, and that excites me because I wanted this journal to be a lot about writing. I definitely have junk journals, which are more about collage. I have, a lot of journals that are just kind of more focused on art, but I wanted this one to be equally focused on art and writing because of everything that I've been through lately. I just kind of needed an outlet where I could kind of pour my heart into, and I appreciate journals that are both, that can be both beautiful art-wise, but also hold a lot of meaning and are just an outlet for emotional things. So this is my 2022 journal. I've already started it, and as you guys can see, there's just a lot of writing in it, and got a little smutty there. But what I did was I collaged the corners. So on each page, there's actually a lot of artwork. The corners are collaged, but there's just a lot of space to write, and that's really what I wanted out of this. So I'm sure in future videos I will be using more junk journals or traveler's notebooks, but for these first 10 videos, this is what we are going to be sticking with. And because it's just such a simple challenge, we're going to do very simple layouts. So I'm going to do corner here and corner here, and it's going to be simple and easy and stress-free, because I think art can be stressful sometimes if we feel like we're performing for an Instagram post or a YouTube video or trying to get followers, and you're not going to find any of that here. I'm a very simple crafter. I craft to kind of my style, and I don't really worry too much about what other people are doing. I'm not a very precise crafter where like I measure things and do very complicated things. I kind of rip and tear and just kind of create as I go. If I don't like something, I just kind of layer more stuff on until I like it. So in this channel, you're gonna find just very relaxed, very simple crafts that you should be able to replicate in your own style very easily, and I hope that it just serves as like a jumping point just to spark your own creativity. So let me put this aside, and I'll show you for the first 2 pages that we're gonna do the 10 supplies that I chose to use. So the first 2 are just background papers. I really enjoy always starting with a background of vintage paper. So this is an old hymnal, like an old music sheet from 1947, and you don't have to worry too much about the wording if you're not like a religious person and you find like religious music sheets. I mean, I personally am, so I don't mind it, but you can find music sheets from anything in any era, but you really don't see the wording all that much. So, we're gonna be tearing this and ripping it apart. So don't worry too much if the music's not like your taste. I also was sent, this is like a vintage letter from June 1962 to a lady named Ruth. I love old letters. I think they're so much fun to craft with. It's just this little piece of history. This person is writing to a good friend of hers, and this rips really easily. So I've been actually using this letter quite a lot. When you have kind of folds, especially folds that have been there for like the last 70 years or whatever, they're really easy to rip. So this, again, we don't have to worry about too much what this letter says. It's going to be a background piece of collage. And I really like it because surprisingly it was written on like a vellum-y, onion skin-ish type of paper. So it's just really translucent and pretty and really great to just kind of fade into the background. So those are two. The third supply I'm using, normally I cut out my own vintage botanicals from vintage books. Today I just kind of wanted to keep things simple. I've had a lot of days where I haven't been strong enough to get out of bed or to craft, so I wanted to keep things as easy as possible. So I just used stickers. These two stickers were sent to me in a Happy Mail. You guys know daisies are my favorite flowers, so they were both daisies, and I just thought, well, that's easy. It's easy just to kind of use a sticker and not worry about finding the right botanicals and all the books that I have and cutting them out. So that's our third supply. Our fourth supply is a figure printable. These I have been obsessed with. Ploy from Pisco Letters, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, makes the absolutely most gorgeous printables. I have just been obsessed with these. These are called Coat Lovers, and there's 6 of them. You can print them. One reason I love printables is you can print them as big or as little as you want for your layout. Because I'm only collaging part of the journal, like the size of the journal, I chose to make these really big and bold and vibrant. One thing I love about printables is you do not need to be sparing with them. I feel like whenever I get girl stickers, I like hoard them and I hold on to them, and I get scared to use them because once you use them, they're done. But printables are great. You can print as many as you want, use them as liberally as you want. As you saw when I did the little brief flip through, I've been using this particular printable set a lot. I just love them. And if we're going to keep it simple, where we're just picking out 10 supplies and we are only allowing ourselves to use those 10 supplies, having a very cohesive, everything matches, like printables from one singular artist or one singular set is a really good idea to have. I cut out all 6 just because I'm not sure which ones I'll wind up using, but that is our third supply. Our fourth supply is vintage stamps. Vintage stamps are one of my absolutely favorite things to use. But you can find a lot of different styles of them. A lot of different eras look very different. I chose very old ones just because I like how they are just one color. The browns and the blacks I really enjoy using. I like the muted color scheme. They can kind of go with anything. And I like to separate my vintage stamps, like on a day like today when I'm only choosing to use these old muted ones. I just kind of stick them in a separate container. I have a lot of like small little containers in my studio that just kind of hold certain stickers or certain stamps. Makes it really easy when you're just like, I just want these super old ones and I know exactly where they are because I've separated them into my little Russian egg. So I gave myself 1 washi tape, and this is a very just classic washi. It's from Rifle Paper, which is my favorite company. I'm sure you guys have all loved Rifle at some time in your life. Rifle was actually the company that inspired me to start Dodges and Daisies because I loved it so much, and I thought, if Anna can do it, I can do it. Yeah, who can actually be as successful as Anna, but we can each be a success in our own way, even if it's a small one. And yeah, I just love Rifle, and this washi is super, super versatile. It's very translucent and clear, and it just has that gold foil, which can just add a pop. We might not use that today, but it's always good to have a washi on hand just to kind of add little details if we want. These are just going to be layering pieces. for backgrounds. A lot of times I like to just kind of have a different pop of something. So this can very easily be layered on top of something like this. A girl figure can be put there, and then we can kind of stick a flower or something, and then a little, like, I love to use labels as almost like titles. Like you can put a date there or a theme of what you're writing about, and that's kind of a layout already that we're looking for. So I might just set that aside because I actually really like how that looks. But yeah, these are just pure layering pieces, and you can use scrapbook paper, you can use craft paper like this, but just really easy just to kind of add another element to a collage, because kind of the more things you put into a collage, kind of the more it looks like you've worked on it and the better it looks. But we will slide that aside because I actually like that. Labels are number 8. Because we're doing such a simple challenge where we're trying to keep things not overwhelming, I'm gonna say just choose 1 or 2 labels, or labels that are the same. Give yourself a chance to use something for like a date or a title, but don't bring out all the labels that you have, because the purpose of this is to be not overwhelming and as stress-free as possible. And I have a little just vintage card, and number 10 is my vintage German measuring tape. This is one of my all-time favorite supplies. I adore vintage German measuring tape. It is such a versatile tool. I use it in journal spreads, I use it in Happy Mail. You can rip it to any size that you want. I love the numbers on it, and they're not always easy to find. They're not always inexpensive either. But if you can come across one, and they are out there, especially if you search Etsy or shops in like the journaling or snail mail community, you can usually find one, and it's, look how much is in there. This has lasted me probably 2 years already, so it's worth the investment if you can come across one. They are just great things to have. All right, so let's start. And there were 2 things that I did want to mention. One is, I think January journaling can be a little difficult, color scheme and like mood and theme aesthetic wise. We kind of just had Christmas, right? It's January 1st that I'm filming this, and Christmas is just full of color. It's got reds and greens and golds. It's a very happy time. And then we have Valentine's Day next, which I personally love as much as Christmas. I love that I get a chance to use reds and pinks and blushes that I don't normally use in my crafting. I love vintage Valentines. I honestly find just as much excitement and joy in Valentine's Day as I do in Christmas, because I think crafting wise it's just so much fun. But January, we have kind of this this in-between time, and January crafting has always, for as many years as I've been crafting, which is quite a long time, confused me. Like, what do you do in January? It's so boring. And my suggestion for you guys would be a very simple muted color palette that just kind of celebrates the beauty of winter. I know that when the trees are bare and the skies are gray, it might seem gloomy, but to me, I've found such beauty and simplicity in winter crafting. So my suggestion for you guys, if you are looking for a color palette or a mood or a theme for January, is just very muted colors. Use things like off-whites, beiges, browns, aged ephemera. Just keep it very, like, blushes, keep it very neutral. And I really do feel like creating in a neutral color palette in January not only honors the season of winter, which can be a season of rest and rejuvenation and rebuilding, but also beauty. Like, there's so much beauty in snow and a light, like a candle burning. I love to burn my candles in winter. A light gray sky. Like, it doesn't have to be gloomy if you just kind of embrace it and make it a cozy thing. So we're gonna be doing that for this 10 for 10 challenge too. We're gonna be keeping it just kind of a neutral color palette, and I think a lot of us know just how beautiful that can be, the simplicity of it. So there's that. And you can add blushes definitely into that. But all right, let's get started. So these are the 2 pages that we are going to be using for the first 2 spreads. And I don't know if this is cheating because I kind of did it while I explained it, but I actually really like this. So let's start with that and then just add to it. So the first thing I'm going to put down is my background page, and that's always what I do. So I'm choosing to use this very translucent paper. Now, I've never seen someone do this before, so I don't know if I'm the only one that does this. I like to glue on scrap paper because I really like it when the edges don't pull up. I use a lot of actual vintage paper, not printables, so things that are, you know, sometimes 50 to 100 years old and they're a bit brittle and they can break. So when I craft, I actually like it when the pages don't really rip up too much, because I get afraid of like tearing and, you know, like losing part of that paper. So what I do is, a lot of times, you know, you'll get like junk mail in the mail, or, you know, once you've used up a botanical book, there's like extra in the back. Things that are going to be recycled anyway, I just kind of use as like a gluing spot, and then I stick them in the recycling bin after I've glued on them. But to me, it just makes they're just a little bit stronger of a quality of what I'm doing. I hope that makes sense. So that's our first layer. Because what I've normally been doing is keeping it the same day, I'm gonna make this, where's another piece of this guy? I'm gonna use this on both sides. A lot of times I do like to turn corner pieces into triangles. So for this other side, I am gonna do that. I'm gonna turn it into a triangle. And I always like to lead the eye when I'm crafting. So I feel like that was when I was in school taking all of these art classes. One thing that I learned that kind of stuck with me is leading the eye inward. So if we are going to do a spread, a lot of times the triangle really works because it leads you this way. The same with figure drawings. So if there's a figure drawing facing this way, she would be much better on this side of the page, whereas a figure drawing facing this way would be much better on this side of the page, because not realizing it, your eye is going to follow those lines, and it's kind of going to bring your eye into the center, and it really works well for layouts. I'm sure some of you guys have heard that before, but it's true, it really does work. So I'm gonna bring this. This is just scrap paper that I've had forever. A great thing about collage is you can kind of use up stuff that's just laying around. And we kind of put that over here. One thing I love to do with the German tape is just kind of make a bottom, almost like arrow, like I was talking about before, that just kind of leads your eye into the middle of the page. So we're going to do that. And we're going to do that on both sides. Now, as I'm crafting and kind of playing around with this, I do want to explain to you guys why I loved this 10 for 10 challenge so much. And that is because I feel like a lot of times we deal with, or we have, I don't know if deal with is a really positive way of putting that. We have so many supplies, and it's good because we're supporting people, we're supporting small businesses and artists in our community, and please continue to do that. I am all for that and do it myself. But sometimes we can amass such a collection of stationery that when we sit down to craft, it can be actually overwhelming, and it might even prevent us from sitting down and crafting because we just have so many supplies that we just don't know what to do with. And I'm actually going to use this guy because I'm going to try to make this a little symmetrical. I might rip that though, just to give a little bit more room to write, because as I said, the theme of this journal is definitely an outlet for words and emotions as well as artwork. As you guys can see, I've been writing quite a bit. So anyway, a really great way to feel not overwhelmed is to kind of sit down with just 10 supplies, and you pick them out beforehand. You pick them out before you even sit down, and you make sure they're kind of all like the same color theme, and yeah. If you're just working with that amount, it can be a lot less overwhelming. So you don't have to think about all of the washi tape that you have and all of the figure drawings that you have, because there's so many talented people that do figure drawings, and you know, we can have just a ton of things, and it really can be overwhelming. So the point of this challenge is to try to make things as peaceful and as simple as possible. Challenges are a great way to stretch ourselves artistically. Any kind of challenge that I've come across on Instagram or YouTube, it's not that I do them all, but they really make for a way to just stretch yourself, especially if you don't normally craft in the way that the person is suggesting. It's just good to like exercise those crafty muscles just like we exercise other things. So right now I'm just kind of playing around with what I'm doing. I think I like that. And this is definitely a great exercise. It's just kind of forcing yourself to only use a certain amount of supplies. And not only does that stretch us creatively, that's not a word, creatively. Oh my God, can you tell that all of the sickness has really affected my brain? Creatively, it stretches us creatively, which is always good. But it also helps us use up supplies. I've noticed that a lot of my supplies, even supplies that I love from favorite companies, they'll go unused, and nobody really wants that. But if I do something like this, like only picking out 10 things, they get used where they might not have before. So it's really, to me, it's a great exercise. It's a great way to actually use up those supplies that you have. And yeah, it makes me happy. That's one reason why I love journaling as much as I do, is because I think we are very generous people in like the snail mail journaling community. Like, we give a lot of our supplies away to our friends because we want to make them happy and we want to make little exciting mails for them to open. But journaling to me is a way to kind of keep the things that mean the most to you. So like these Daisy stickers were gifted to me, and it would be really easy for me to make a beautiful envelope with them and send them off, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Gift giving brings us joy and happiness, and making other people happy makes us happy. But sometimes it's nice to have a spot where we're able to keep our own favorite things, and that's absolutely okay. It took me a while to realize that, that keeping something that makes you happy is okay, and that's one of the reasons why journaling is just so important to me, because something like this that means a lot to me, it's very personal. Somebody thought of my favorite flower when they sent it. Like, I'm able to keep that now forever in a keepsake, and when I look through this journal, I'm going to be able to remember that that person thought of me with kindness and thought of me with intention, and it's always going to fill my heart with a smile. It's always going to fill my heart with joy, and it's something that I'm going to be happy that I held on to. So don't feel guilty about saving your favorite things in your journal. That's my little spiel for today. But this page actually now is all finished. I wound up using 7 things on it, so I didn't use the full 10, but it's definitely, this side is ready, and because this journal is so big, there's still all of the space to write, and there's definitely a lot of it to, you know, just pour my heart into. But it's really nice that there's this also in this kind of journal to kind of make it a beautiful experience to write. So we've done half now, and we'll go over to this other side and try to kind of make it a little similar, because it's probably, like I said, going to be the same day that will be being journaled. Now, as I was talking about before, eye leading. So we're not going to want to use her because she's going to lead us that way off the page. And she's also very that way off the page. These two aren't necessarily facing this way, but to me, she's kind of the least eye leading toward the other way. So I'm going to use her. And I think I'm going to set her up like that. But yeah, if you guys try this, definitely let me know. I would love it if you tagged me, if you post your creations on Instagram, and let me know that you are doing this too. And you can do it even simpler than I'm doing it. You can do a 5 for 5 challenge where you're just using 5 supplies instead of 10. Just doing 5 layouts if 10 just seems overwhelming to you. I did fold that over a little bit, so I'm going to try to use her to cover that little mistake. But it's definitely a good challenge. It's definitely something I've done a couple of times in my life. And surprisingly, even though you're giving yourself less supplies to work with, I actually wind up using up supplies that I kind of have been hoarding for a long time. And that makes me happy. I'd rather be using my supplies than not using them. And when you're using them in something like a journal, it becomes a keepsake that you will have for, you know, the rest of your life. And if you have children or godchildren or, you know, somebody that you can pass these on to, they'll have that too for the rest of their lives, which is wonderful. It's a keepsake that's both a beautiful thing for you to have and also for future generations to have, or just people that love you. So I wound up sticking this in there just because I wanted a little bit more of a leading, because she's a little facing that way, the flowers are a little facing that way. So I'm just going to lead it a little bit more that way. And then I'm going to use some stamps to kind of fill in these little pockets that aren't as detailed. And as you guys can see, I'm not really somebody that plans too much when I craft. I know a lot of crafters will kind of like lay out what they're doing or try different things. I'm kind of more somebody that just kind of feels it. I don't know if that sounds too like bohemian or not. Give us some more light. But that's always been how I've been. I don't like measure, I just kind of eyeball it and tear. I just kind of layer things as I kind of feel the flow of the layout. And if I don't like what I feel, I just kind of add to it until I like it. And, you know, that definitely can leave you open for mistakes. I don't like every layout I've done because I am just kind of a loosey-goosey crafter, but 9 times out of 10, I do like what I make, and that's just, for me, the kind of crafter that I am. So, oops. I hope that that doesn't freak anyone out too much because, you know, this is just to inspire you guys and to get your own creative juices flowing. So if you do things differently than me, that's absolutely okay. And you can plan or measure or anything that makes you feel comfortable and happy, because that's what crafting should be about. It should be what makes each one of us happy and what creates the least amount of stress in all of us. So you do you, and that is the most important thing. All right, I actually really like both of these layouts a lot. I don't always love what I make, and I was a little nervous to be creating live as there was a recording, because if I didn't like what I made, that would be really awkward. But yeah, I did it. I'm so excited that I was actually able to do my first YouTube video. Like I said, I've had the Dodges and Daisies YouTube channel for 4 to 5 years now, and I've always wanted to do this, but it just felt really overwhelming to me, and I just kept putting it off and putting it off, and you know, sometimes keeping up with things like daily posts on Instagram, or you know, when you run a shop, all the shop updates, and you know, I try to blog sometimes on my website, which I'll leave that below, my shop and my website down in the description, and also my Instagram handle. But it can just be a lot. It can be a lot when you're kind of working full time at maintaining a shop and maintaining an Instagram account to add something else. But YouTube has always kind of been in the back of my mind. And then I went through this December season that I had just a ton of downtime. I did not feel physically strong enough to get out of bed a lot of days. And when I did, I felt like all I could really do was sit and craft. So I thought, why not turn lemons to lemonade? Sometimes we just have to, right? We don't really have a choice. But I thought, I'm gonna try to do something that's kind of been in the back of my mind and on my heart for a long time, and just launch right into it. If all I can do is sit right now, then I'm gonna sit and create and hopefully make something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So that's it. This is, how many things did we use? We used our vintage paper, our letter, that's 1. We used our scrap craft paper, that's 2. We used the vintage German measuring tape as 3. The vintage stamps is 4. I chose to just use brown ones just because that was easy. Our flower stickers, so I've already lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Label is 6. This vintage piece of ephemera is 7. And then our printables from Pisco Letters is, literally, guys, this is what sick brain does to you. I've already forgotten how much I've counted. This is what happens when you're on like 10 different medications. Oh my gosh. Please forgive me. I promise I'll get better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe we've used 8 out of our 10 supplies, but there's nothing that looks incomplete about this. We've put it together so quickly. It was so easy because everything was kind of in a more muted, neutral color palette. Everything just kind of went together really easily. And in just a few minutes, we were able to make a really beautiful layout. And like I said, it's simple because we're not worrying about taking up all of the page. So it gives a lot of room for writing and recording memories or getting out feelings or emotions or just kind of whatever you want to use your journal for. And that's it. That's all I have for you guys today. But I'm really looking forward to doing a few more videos like this that are just hopefully inspiring because of how simple they are. That's definitely my goal, is to just give you guys some really laid back, simple layout and journal ideas. So maybe you're exhausted from the holidays, maybe you're stressed about the new year ahead, maybe you're like me, you're dealing with some pretty severe health issues and you just don't have as much energy as you wish you did. But you know, journaling and crafting should be fun, it should be exciting, it should be a stress relief, it shouldn't be adding stress to you. So hopefully today I've just given you a little bit of inspiration that you don't need anything super complicated or a ton of supplies. I mean, I didn't even use stamps or ribbons or fibers or wax seals or anything. And you can create something that you find beautiful and will just add to your journal. So thanks so much for tuning in, and thanks so much for listening to my first YouTube. I'm sure things will get better as I keep going, because this is, like I said, my first one. And I really, really look forward to growing as a YouTuber and getting better at this, and also just sharing bits and pieces of crafting and my life. And I'm just a really open person, so I enjoy kind of sharing bits and pieces of life along with my art and my studio space. I'm really, really into home decor and creating a very hygge, cozy crafting space, so I'll definitely enjoy sharing that with you guys too. But I am looking forward to video 2, where we're gonna choose 10 different craft supplies and make another really simple layout. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for joining me.